You are listening to the Fatboy Show on your number one station, RX Radio, and I hope you're enjoying the fact that Friday is here and Friday is finally upon us. Of course, that's something to always feel grateful for. Another reason to feel grateful today is the fact that today is International Wildlife Day, or actually World Wildlife Day, a day to celebrate wildlife. There's so many wonderful specimens of animals all over the world, and I'm sitting in the studio with one of them. Can't you just see how wild Olive looks?
I'm a wild animal. Oh my God.
Wild.
Wow. But I like that. If
A
you
very
think
beautiful but dangerous creature
oh, okay. At least not beautiful, but unlucky.
with a lot of hair
And nails.
and nails, claws. So watch out. We have plenty of wildlife here. But nonetheless, what a day. You know, today is interesting because following what happened with Bobi Wine's, the guy who claimed that Bobi Wine paid him to lie that he was tortured by the state, this Eric Mwesigwa fellow. Now, of course, Bobi Wine has come out and hit back saying that, hey, we ain't going to fall for these scams. What am I talking about? So you'll recall that several weeks ago, around middle of February, we saw shocking, gruesome images of a man that had been tortured. And he was there seated with Bobi Wine in his office. And Bobi Wine was telling us that the man had been tortured by state operatives. And he was going by what the man had claimed. He said he was abducted, taken to CMI, tortured, and then dumped on the streets. And then so he went to meet with Bobi Wine. And in the office there, he narrated his story. And that is how we saw all the awful pictures. And Bobi Wine rightfully declared that, you know, this is not right, that civilians should not be abducted and should not be tortured. Okay, so that was that. And then the police said, well, we're going to look into it. Next thing we see, this Eric Mwesigwa fella in a press conference with the army spokesperson, Felix Kulaije, saying that, in fact, that he had been paid by Bobi Wine and the NUP leadership to stage the whole thing.
Yeah.
Did that come as a surprise to you, Olive?
Actually, I was surprised. I never expected a turnaround that quickly.
So quickly.
Yeah, but when I saw the army officers next to him as he was giving his presser, I was like, this is so UG.
This is so UG. And of course, what does Bobi Wine have to say about that? Well, he has come out and challenged the UPDF, the Uganda Peoples Defence Forces, to produce the CCTV footage of Eric Mwesigwa's abduction. Apparently, I guess he still insists that he was abducted by state operatives.
But then he contradicts himself in his story because when he was speaking to the press the other day, he said that, yes, I was abducted, but then he claims that he self-inflicted the wounds that we saw because he had been promised 50 million shillings.
So he was abducted, but the wounds were inflicted.
Yeah, you see the contradiction. As in,
And
it
why?
makes no sense.
And for a person to inflict such wounds on themselves, I mean, they would have to be mentally ill.
Deranged.
I mean, that was just a gruesome, those wounds were just horrible.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this is what Bobi Wine had to say yesterday in response to that press conference. Take a listen to this.
Bebatulugunyanga abantu baffe bawambe balumanga zibanka so bano ba criminal, these are criminal abakulayije bemulaba ba criminal batemu bata abantu babandi bata abana babandi ne bamala ne babatulugunya ne babatusa ku kisenge simanyi oba bamuwambidde mwana we oba bamuwambidde muntu we oba bakoze eki ate n'obwavu bennyini Museveni bwatadde mu bantu baffe ne babuwalira ddala agezako bamalamu essuubi temugwamu ssuubi mulemereeko bano abantu okola bino ebintu kiragira ddala okutya kiraga nti bali ku pressure kati sanctions zigenda baluma obujulizi bugenda buwera kyogola abagezaako okubuzaabuza badde nyina okliyaringa eno ensonga basebo ne bannyabo.
Wow.
Whoa.
Okay. So please do us the honors.
Resident interpreter. So he says that the collages of this world in the past, before they were what they became what they are today, that they used to be criminals, that they used to actually go into banks and steal money. They used to torture people. So he says that what they're doing right now is not new. But then he adds that probably the army has abducted a child, for Mwesigwa's child or a relative, and maybe that's why he is turning around and making different statements, different from those ones that we had a couple of weeks ago. But then he also points out that President Museveni has ensured that Ugandans remain poor and they can do anything for someone that gives them more money.
Kind of like what you were talking about yesterday about the fresh crop of NUP MPs who won these seats in the last elections.
Yeah.
How most of them are young, thus are more likely to be wooed by these financial incentives
Yes.
that they are going to be exposed to. So might this be a lesson for Bobi Wine to not just let anyone get close? Because how is it that we came to hear of Eric? It was through the meeting he had with Bobi Wine, and Bobi Wine is the one who presented this guy to us
But you see, it is not only Bobi
as
Wine.
an alleged victim.
Back in the day, FDC would present people. They claimed that these people that they had been abducted by the state and tortured. And if someone comes to you and says, "I'm your supporter," because Bobi Wine knew the guy, he knew the guy before the guy was abducted. So if someone you knew and you always knew them as your supporters comes to you and says, "I was abducted and I was tortured," you're going to believe them because the torture and abduction is not something new. So I can't fault him for having presented him to the press because no one I will always tell you, did you ever expect Mao to be a minister?
All right, I didn't see that coming either. So Uganda's politics is just full of surprises, and I don't know if that either speaks to the cunning nature of our leadership,
Of course.
and in particular the president. I mean, it's not by accident that he's been in power for 40 years.
Of course, it isn't by accident, but I also feel like that the president has overzealous people around him, and that sometimes he honestly doesn't know that these things are going on. I mean, even the high-profile murders that have happened in the country, like that of ASP Felix Kawesi, it is said that the president loved the man. So, of course, some people were alleging that his murder had been ordered by the state. But then people who know the president say the president actually loved this
Even,
man and he wasn't party to this whole murder.
Even, what's that, Abiriga?
And Abiriga loved the president. So why would the president decide to kill the very person that goes around town wearing yellow, dressed in, driving a yellow car?
Of course, as far as the conspiracies go, I guess there's a spectrum of possibilities. Of course, some people will go as far as to ascribe the most heinous of crimes and murders to the state, which of course, you probably need a lot more evidence before you can come out and make such a claim. But just in as far as moving the political chess pieces on the board.
The president is good.
Manipulating these various political actors, I think he's a genius at that. And I think he deserves credit for that.
No, he does.
Because that's a smart man.
If there is anything anyone in Ugandan politics knows, whether the late Semogerere or Besigye or Bobi Wine himself and even Norbert Mao, is that the president is a very smart man. And here's the thing, if someone is your opponent, the worst thing you can do to yourself is underestimate them. So if Bobi Wine is underestimating the cunningness of the incumbent, he needs to go back to the drawing board, because everyone that has been with him, whether army officers like Mugisha Muntu, they know that this guy is good. He's good at his
the
craft.
advantage that the other side has, the Team Museveni has, is that he and the people around him have access to vast resources that they can deploy in service of their agenda.
Well, with power comes so much advantages.
Whereas, NUP, mostly they're idealistic, and where they do obtain some funding from various sources, I don't think it's anywhere near what they would need to be able to, buy support.
Of course.
Or to steal support from, let's say, to make someone from NRM, the NRM, defect to them. I don't think they can marshal the kind of money that
they can't.
Something like that would take.
No, they can't. Because, here we have the Bank of Uganda, and you can just give them an order to make money. Okay, that is an allegation, but I think it's not far from the truth.
There are various ways. Aside from cash out of the bag, there's job appointments, there's contracts. There's so many ways you can
there is so
entice
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
to join you if you're on the government side.
I mean, even the current IGG, for the longest time since I can remember, was a known critic of the government. Back in
remember.
the day when I was in high school, Betty Kamya, she was a powerful person in
Bonk.
FDC. And now where is she? She's the IGG. She sold her soul, someone would say, to the devil. Not my words.
Betty Olive.
Na misango. You know, misango means like crimes. And
Really?
she's called Namisango. Kamya.
So you think it's a befitting name? Or
Well, the nomenclature.
an unfortunate name?
The nomenclature just suits right where it is.
Okay. Well, I don't know what language you're going to use to try to translate all of the madness that's unfolding right now in our political scene here in Uganda. But nonetheless, it's fun to watch. You got to say that at least. Keep listening to your number one station, RX Radio.